Hi, my name is Danielle Shifflett, and I'm a Women's Health Ambassador for the St. Francis Gala. Women's health has meant so much to me on both a professional and a personal basis. From a professional side of things, I worked as an emergency department nurse over the past 4 years here at Mosaic Medical Center, Maryville. And just to see the impact that our OB doctors as well as the OB unit has on patients is just astounding. They're available for consultations at all times, coming down into the rooms with patients, consulting with them, assisting with procedures to make it more comfortable for them, as well as just talking them through things on sometimes the worst days of their lives. With that being said, Dr. Dotson's great, and she's available anytime we even see a patient in the ER to work them into the clinic just for further care. I think another thing that a lot of people don't know and don't realize is that a lot of times, as long as someone doesn't come in with a life threatening illness or emergency and they're over 20 weeks pregnant, we usually send them to the OB unit to have them have the baby evaluated and cared for, and they can eventually come back for that ER care. But what they don't understand, and what sometimes we don't understand if you've never kind of been in that situation before, is that a lot of times those patients don't come back over to the ER and they're fully treated over in the OB unit. And this helps prevent ER charges for all of these mothers and these babies in a more comfortable and kind of quiet environment. The OB nurses are great. They're always available for multiple things, whether we're doing IV sticks for neonates, lumbar punctures on these babies, they're always available. And I can tell you multiple times there's been moms that come in and they're newly postpartum, they're completely overwhelmed, and they're worried about pumping their loved ones in the ER bed beside them or their baby or themselves. And we just call up the OB nurses and they come bring the pumping supplies and set it up and explain it to them. And I think that's just great care that you get at a smaller hospital that you don't get anywhere else. And not to mention the amount of times that the OB unit has helped us as ER nurses not have to deliver babies makes a big difference. So that's kind of the professional side of things. And from the personal side of things, my kind of OB story starts in 2021 to 2022. In 2021, I got married to my husband in August, and we found out like the next month that we were pregnant. It was really unexpected, but we counted it as a blessing and had a completely uneventful pregnancy. We ended up coming into the hospital in June of 2022 and had our first baby boy Ryder. And like I said, the hometown care, you have everyone coming in to take care of you that you know, and it's a comfortable environment. The two nurses who checked me in that night were nurses that I graduated nursing school with, and then the day shift nurse I had all weekend. And it's just truly a celebration whenever you have your baby at Mosaic and Maryville. Your coworkers are coming in to see you, your friends from other units, the chaplains coming in to see you that you have a relationship with, and they're just all great. And prior to going home, you sit down and you have a meal with your husband, and it's just something you don't get anywhere else. It's just truly a big celebration before you go home and start your new life with your baby. So that's kind of the good side of things that I had. And then fast forward to August of 2023, I talked to my husband. It was time to have another baby. I was going to graduate from grad school as a nurse practitioner in December, and we thought, how great, having another summer baby, the babies be 2.5 years apart, everything's just going to work out perfect. And what we kind of didn't understand is that God's plan is always kind of a little different sometimes than what we originally planned. So we ended up getting pregnant in January of 2024. And at that time, I was over the moon. The baby was due on my grandpa's birthday. I thought, this is like meant to be. I was already ordering maternity clothes again. And I told my husband, Thomas, I was like, when are we going to notify our daycare provider that we're getting ready to have this baby and it's going to be due in September and all of these things. And it was when we had a really big snowstorm and I had slipped on the ice and had some really bad, like right lower quadrant pain. And I was working in the ER and I was talking to one of my friends that's the ER doc there, kind of just explaining to him the process and what was kind of going on with me. And he goes, we need to get you an ultrasound right away. And so we got an ultrasound done just to rule out like an ectopic pregnancy, and there ended up being no heartbeat for the baby. And we were told, okay, come back in 2 weeks and we'll do another ultrasound to evaluate. And we're still kind of naive because our first pregnancy had no problems and didn't expect anything. But those 2 weeks were the most grueling 2 weeks I've ever had in my entire life waiting. And so fast forward 2 weeks, we had our repeat ultrasound, and it still showed that the baby had no heartbeat. So the ultrasound tech kind of explained things to us and said, do you have an appointment with Dr. Dotson? And I said, no. And she walked right out of the room, called Dr. Dotson, and immediately Dr. Dotson had us in her office, sitting down and talking to her. And I think that says just a lot about our women's health clinic just immediately working us in, because I'm bawling. I can't even get any words out. And she has a completely packed schedule, but you wouldn't have known it because she sat down with me and Thomas and she kind of explained all of our options with us and just sat there listening to us kind of cry and vent and ask all of these questions like, why us? What did we do wrong? And she just had no indication. You would have thought that we were the last people on her schedule at 4 o'clock that day instead of one of the first people on her schedule on a jam-packed day. And so for that, like, I am so incredibly grateful for her and just the care of that. So we ended up going for a D&C the next morning, and if you look up the statistics of recurrent miscarriages in a healthy 20-year-old or in your 20s, you look and you see that it's 1%. So we thought, okay, we just have to go through the D&C and we can grieve and kind of move on. So fast forward to April of 2023, and we were pregnant again, and I had hit the 6-week mark and I had started bleeding. And so I called the OB unit and they got me in for another ultrasound, and the ultrasound showed that there was no heartbeat for the baby again. And I thought, there is no way that this is happening to us again. So the 2-week process started again, and we were waiting. And fast forward like another week, and I was working, and I could tell you who I was working with, what the patient was there for, what room I was in, where I was standing. And I just felt like my water had broke, and I knew that I was actively miscarrying. And so I went to the bathroom and I called Allie's spore leader and kind of explained what was going on. And I'm just a sobbing mess. And it's just being in Maryville, it's kind of friends taking care of friends. And she immediately had me come down over her lunch break and had me sit and had me vent and just kind of consoled me through the process and kind of let me know what was going to happen with a natural miscarriage this time around. And we did a blood draw and everything, and she just sat there until I was kind of ready to go home. And so that was really special. So that's kind of all of that. And if, like I said, you look at the statistics and you see that it happens in 1 in 4 pregnancies, and it's just something that's never talked about. And so when I was going through all of this, I felt like I was the only person in the world who had this occurrence. So if you look at the statistics, 1% of people have recurrent miscarriages, and 1 in 4 pregnancies result in miscarriages. And I think that's what people don't realize because it's just not talked about very often. I can't even begin to explain kind of how special it is to have all of my care, my prenatal care. We're getting ready to have another baby in March, and just to be able to deliver in Maryville again is just such a special feeling. And my hope for being an ambassador is to just highlight that care and highlight how great it is to have local care, have your friends taking care of you, people you know, but also kind of getting the word out that miscarriages are common and it's something that more people than you know go through, and it's okay to talk about, and it's okay to get the word out about things. And if anything, from having a healthy baby to 2 miscarriages back to back to now having another baby, is that there really is hope for people who are going through some of the darkest days of their lives. So for that, I am very grateful for all of the care that I have received through Mosaic Medical Center Maryville.